Vibrant Living is brought to you by Springwater Insurance Group, teaching you how to buy the best Medicare and supplemental plans for your needs.
I'm Dave Tosch, Executive Director, Wenatchee Valley Senior Activity Center, and today I'm with Jim Telford, one of our senior members, and we have become good friends over the past, about 10 years or so.
What I do want to tell you is a little bit about my being born in Opine, Montana, and I was number 12 of 13 children. And one day there was a funeral coach went by our house, and I said to my mother, Mom, that's one thing I'd like to do sometime, is to drive the funeral coach or ride in it. And consequently, my mother said, Jim, you shouldn't wish for things like that, because those things wishes can come true. And I was 6 years old at the time. And consequently, we moved from Opine to Washington. And we landed in Plain, Washington. I went to a grade school there. From there, it was high school. I graduated in 1954, and that year, the Wenatchee High School royalty for Apple Blossom Festival made a trip to Leavenworth and invited us to come to Wenatchee for the festival. And what I remembered most about the three young ladies that were royalty for the Apple Blossom Festival, what I remember the most was the brunette, the third member of the royalty, and I don't know, it just, her stature and her beauty, her dark brown hair, and she was from Wenatchee, and I had it in my mind that I wanted to marry a Wenatchee girl. Lo and behold, in 1963, she had gone to college, but she came back to Wenatchee in '63, and I needed a date for the New Year's Eve dance and dinner. And I was asked if I would like to have a date with Corinne Bellis. And I said, heck yeah, I'd take a date with her any day of the week. Well, do you know her? And I said, no, never met the lady. Well, then what makes you think you want to have a date with her? And I said, well, I can tell you this. She was the shortest one of the three royalty that visited Leavenworth in 1954. 64, excuse me. 54, when I met her there, or at least
10 years later, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And so then 63 was when she came back to Wenatchee, and I got a date with her for that night of the Christmas, New Year's Eve dinner and dance. And my first dance with her was a fast dance. And I think I surprised her because we both were dancing the same step. And she, after the dance was over, she said, "Wow, you're a good dancer. you dance just like Happy Jack. And I said, well, who's Happy Jack? Well, he was one of my high school friends that every time we would have a dance and they'd play a fast dance, Happy Jack and I always danced that fast dance together. So that was an in for me with her, and consequently I started dating her, and third month came along and I asked her to marry me. And she said, "You're rocking the boat." I said, "What do you mean I'm rocking the boat?" "Well, you're pushing me, and I need time to think." Well, I have to tell you this part of this story because my brother, my sister and her fiance got married in April, and we were invited to the wedding. We went to the wedding, and then we went back to her house. She wanted to change clothes and wanted me to go with her downtown shopping. So we did that, but before we left the house, I was standing there in her kitchen doorway, and she came up to me and she took my hand and turned it upside down like this so she could see my ring. And she said to me, "You know, that diamond in that black onyx would really make a beautiful engagement ring." And I said, "What?" She said, "That would really make a beautiful engagement ring." And I said, "For gosh sakes, let's run down the buttons and get that engagement ring for you before you change your mind." So as it was, she asked me, and I said, "Yes, by all means."
My name is Donna Luber. I've been part of the senior writers group for just about 2 years now. I've written off and on all of my life. I've always had stories dancing through my head, but failed to put them on paper. And the senior group has helped me with that, the great encouragement, whether it be a family story, which I'm trying to do a book that I will hand down to my children and grandchildren about our family's history and the good stories that go along with that.
Hi, my name is John Galanis. The seniors have taught me that you write what you know. And I figure that Jim Tarbert must have sold life insurance at some time in his life, because he's one hell of a salesman. My wife and I retired about 5 years ago, and about 4 years ago, I think she was afraid I was going to stay in my pajamas every day. And so she went to the senior center and saw Jim Tarbert there, who talked to her about a writers group. And the writers group at the Wenatchee Senior Center has been active now for over 20 years. And he convinced my wife that I should go there and learn how to write. Well, you do write what you know, and I thought about the senior center, and God love her, my mother-in-law, rest her soul, lived with us for 25 years, and many of those years she went to the senior center, and I thought, oh, that's where the old people go so they can play canasta. I don't know. Anyway, I took her up on it, and I went to a meeting about 3.5 years ago, and it was wonderful. Now, I am older, and so I fit right in as a senior, but I think I learned that the writing gives us purpose. You do write what you know, and I like to tell stories, and so I thought maybe writing stories would be fun, and they're not. You know what? It is. And so I started writing stories, and I brought them to the center, and the writers group was so warm and accepting that I didn't feel frightened, like, oh, this isn't for me. And I also belong to Right on the River, and my wife, again, she's a good salesman too. talked me into entering a competition there about 3 years ago. And when I got the call and says, well, you got third place in this writing competition, that sealed it. And I thought, I think I'll just keep writing because you can do it in your pajamas.
My name is Dale CROUSE, and I'm a scientist. I was prompted to join the group because I'm 79 now, but when I was writing a book for the first time, because I had a theory about that I wanted to finally get written down in book form. I'd been doing copyrights, but I hadn't actually published a book. So I was at a meeting, and I was telling somebody about that was my doing, and I needed to find an editor that could help me write the book. And the people said, well, Jim Tarbert is right down at the end of the table. I looked down the table, and here's this gentleman over here. And so after the meeting was over, I went up to him. I said, I understand that there's a place where I can get some help with with editing my writing, because I'm a scientist and we're terrible writers. And where could I do that? He said, well, come to the senior writers group. And he says, all you have to do is we're writing something about a holiday. So just bring something to the group about some holiday during the year that you write up about. So I came and I sat down in this group of people. I didn't know any of them other than I had met Jim. And it turned out that I read this one piece of paper, scared to death about doing it, but I read it. And the other thing you have to do is you have to bring 20 copies of your paper so you can hand them around to the group. So I handed out the copies. I read the thing like that. Well, the next meeting, he talks about that they're publishing holiday tales, and when they hand out the copy of it, my paper is in there. So within a very short period of time, I have my first name in a publication. When I read stuff from Child of Humans, it's about religion. And I don't know about a lot of people, but in the world in which I live, there's two things you should never talk about: politics and religion. So I put this out, and what I've learned about the senior writers group is we have a very diverse group of people with respect to religious and political beliefs. But the thing that's really neat about the group is they're focused on, did you state your position clearly? It's the only place I know that I can write about politics and survive.
I'm writing nonfiction. I haven't published, with the exception of the holiday tales at the senior center, but I keep the stories together, and one of these days, I might publish. I'm never going to be another Stephen King. I'm not going to make a living out of this. And you know what? I'm retired. I don't have to make a living out of it. I just enjoy writing. This group has taught me how to make my characters come alive, how I can use a dialogue to get my point across, and I learned what an M-dash is. I don't know that. I have a lot of stories, and I like to extend those stories to regular people, especially as we get more mature, not to say older, because for 40 years I took care of geriatric patients as a doctor. And so a lot of those stories have aha moments, and there's something very intimate about sitting on the bedside of a patient who's dying in an intensive care unit and asking them, what was it all about? You're on the other side, or you're getting real close. What was it all about? And son of a gun, they all say the same thing. It's as though they go to learn how to die school. They all say, doctor, it was only about the love in your relationships. Not the money, not the power, not the prestige. It was only about love.
In 1998, Shirley Peace and Rose Reynoldson started this group to help seniors improve their writing. The original members are long gone, but today, at our last meeting in March, we have 22 members in the group. They come from Leavenworth, Cashmere, Manson, in Wenatchee and East Wenatchee. We meet at 9:30 in the morning here at the Senior Center. The meetings are open to anyone who wants to improve their writing and to anyone who wants to help others improve. I joined the group in 2012 after I finished my family history research and decided I wanted to share my information with relatives. But I had two problems. I didn't know how to publish, and I didn't feel my grammar skills would meet publishing standards. So I found this group, and within 2 years, I had learned enough to go ahead with their help and publish my first book. When I look around the table at one of our meetings, I see retired seniors from many occupations and professions with a variety of interests and skills.
Hi, I'm Jim Heinlein, and I want to take a minute to teach you about the 2 ways you can have your Medicare. As you notice on the screen here, the green side of the page and the blue side. So let's start with the green side first. The first box is Medicare A and B, when it's run by federal employees. Box number 2 is a Medicare supplement. Box 3 is Part D prescription drug plan, and that is when you're getting your medications at a pharmacy or mail order. And that's the green side of the page. Now let's look at the blue side. The blue side of the page is when federal Medicare allows a private insurance company to do their job for them for a year at a time. So the private insurance company brings A, B, and sometimes D all together as an all-in-one package. In addition to that, the Medicare Advantage plan also provides extras beyond what Medicare would do, like dental, vision, health club, all the Medicare physicals with no copay. So if you have questions about the 2 different ways you can have Medicare, give us a call at Springwater Insurance Group. Our phone number 509-888-2600.
My name's Dee Clark. I'm the program director with the Wenatchee Valley Senior Activity Center, and today I'm going to talk about our travel program. So we've done trips down to Walla Walla for wine tasting, balloon festivals, just anything that comes to mind. We're always looking for new ideas. Also, one of our annual trips that have been very popular is the Tulip Festival over in Mount Vernon. So our large trips, I partner with Journey Travel and Tours, and I work directly with Norma Jean Diaz on all of those trips. So those trips would be any trip that would include an airplane trip, flights. Most of them are out of country. For instance, in this last February, we went to Costa Rica. Last year, we did Ireland. We do Viking river cruises in Europe. We've gone to Ireland and Amsterdam, just all over the place. We've taken as many as 96 people to Europe with us. We flew into San Jose and spent the evening, and the first thing in the morning, we loaded up on our tour bus and headed out to the East Coast, which is the Caribbean coast of Costa Rica, to the Tortuguero National Rainforest. And we stayed there for a couple of days. During the day, we loaded up in these small boats, and we were out on the water in the torrential rain, and the sun would come out, but we had a wonderful time. We saw all kinds of wildlife, from sloth to macaw, great green macaw. Of course, you know, we're out in the wild in the middle of this rainforest that's just a really thick jungle. So we didn't water off the paths and we did not handle any of the wildlife or even feed the wildlife. A lot of people speak English there, and I was surprised to find out there's a very large American population that live in Costa Rica. So English is widely spoken. As far as traveling elsewhere in Central America, we have talked about, Norma Jean and I have talked about doing a Panama Canal cruise. So that's something that we could be doing in the next couple of years. Once the travel industry opens up again. What I miss the most, just getting out, going places. I love to go and do and see and learn. I love to learn about different cultures, and the history in Europe just fascinates me. So yes, I'm missing traveling very much. I'm having travel withdrawals and hope that we get to start traveling again soon. One place I haven't been yet that I would love to go to is Prague. In fact, we have plans to go next spring. And I don't really know what the big draw for me in Prague is, other than it's a different culture. The history goes back hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. And that's really what draws me to Europe, is the history. It's so much older than what we have here in our own country. Traveling in a group setting is more, in a lot of ways, more convenient. Everything is planned for you. If there are entry fees in any of the attractions that we stop at, those are included. Your hotel accommodations, your transportation, a lot of your meals are all pre-planned and included in the price. So basically all you have to do is pack your bags and follow along with the rest of the group. We do have free time built in on all of the tours. And it may vary from city to city. A lot of the time we're moving from either one city to another or even one country to another. But most of the places where you stop, we might have, an hour or two or maybe even all afternoon free time on our own to explore. So for some of the larger trips, they might range from $2,500 per person, all inclusive. That would include flight, up to, I think, maybe about $5,000 per person. That's a very high-end trip. But we try to plan trips that are affordable. So we will be doing future travel segments on the Vibrant Living TV program, and those will include past trips. We'll go a little bit more in depth in some of the trips that we've taken in the past. We'll also feature upcoming trips and how you can sign up to go on those with us.